I've always been a collector of old things. Last week I found a dusty 1940s vacuum tube radio at a garage sale for $5. The seller, an old man with trembling hands, told me, "Some voices are better left lost in the air." I laughed it off. That night in my basement I plugged it in. The tubes glowed a haunting orange and a low hum filled the room. I slowly turned the dial through the static, searching for a signal, any signal, in the dead of night. Suddenly the static cleared. But it wasn't music or news. It was a rhythmic tapping followed by a woman's voice. She wasn't speaking English. It sounded like a series of coordinates mixed with sobbing. I checked my phone. There were no local stations broadcasting on this frequency. I tried to turn the volume down, but the knob was stuck. The voice grew louder, sharper, as if she was standing right behind me. Then, she whispered my full name and my childhood address. I backed away, but every time I blinked, he was closer. He didn't walk, he just appeared. I ran inside and locked every door. All night I heard bony fingers scratching against the walls. The next morning, Buster was back on the porch, but when he opened his eyes, they were dark, hollow pits, just like the man in the woods. We left the village that day, and I never looked back. My blood ran cold. How could a 80-year-old radio know who I was? I reached for the power cord to pull it out, but as my hand touched the wire, the basement lights flickered and died. In the orange glow of the radio tubes, I saw a reflection in the window. A tall, thin figure was sitting on the stairs watching me. Its limbs were too long, bent at impossible angles. Every time the radio static spiked, the figure moved one step closer without making a sound. I realized the radio wasn't receiving a signal. It was a doorway. The woman's voice changed. It became a deep, distorted growl. "He is coming for the listener," it said. The air became freezing, and the smell of ozone and rotting wood filled the basement. The figure on the stairs was now only 3 feet away. I could see its face now, or rather, the lack of one. It was just smooth, pale skin where eyes and a mouth should be, vibrating with the frequency. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My throat felt like it was filled with cold ash. I looked at the digital clock on my workbench. The red numbers were frozen at 3:33 a.m. The radio started emitting a high-pitched frequency that made my ears bleed. Through the pain, I heard the woman again. She wasn't sobbing anymore. She was laughing. A cold, mechanical laugh that echoed off the concrete walls. "You shouldn't have tuned in," she hissed. The basement started to change. The walls seemed to breathe and the floor felt soft like rotting meat. The shadow figure on the stairs stood up, its head scraping against the ceiling. It began to descend, one slow, bone-cracking step at a time. The radio's orange glow grew blinding, illuminating the creature's smooth face. It had no eyes, yet I knew it was staring into my very soul, feeding on my terror. I scrambled backward, tripping over a pile of old newspapers. My hand landed on an old photo that wasn't there before. It was a picture of me, taken from inside this very basement, dated tomorrow. In the photo, I was sitting in front of the radio, my eyes turned into hollow black pits. The radio voice screamed, "The cycle begins now." The creature reached out a long gray hand, its fingers stretching like liquid shadows toward my throat. With a burst of adrenaline, I grabbed a heavy wrench from the table. I didn't swing at the creature. I knew I couldn't hurt a ghost. Instead, I smashed the glass vacuum tubes inside the radio. There was a deafening explosion of sparks and a sound like 1,000 souls screaming at once. The orange light vanished instantly, plunging the basement into total, suffocating darkness. I held my breath, listening. For a long time, there was nothing but silence. No radio hum, no scratching on the stairs, no laughter. I fumbled for my phone and turned on the flashlight. The stairs were empty. The walls were just concrete again. But the radio was gone. In its place was a pile of fine gray ash and a single rusted skeleton key. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard it felt like it would break. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my living room with every light turned on, clutching a kitchen knife. When the sun finally rose, I went back to the garage where I bought the radio. The house was gone. Not just empty, gone. There was only a vacant weed-covered lot that looked like it had been abandoned for decades. A neighbor walking his dog stopped and stared at me. "That house burned down in 1945, he said. I went home, trying to convince myself it was a hallucination. But then I got into my car. As soon as I turned the ignition, the car radio turned on by itself. It wasn't on a station. It was that same rhythmic tapping. Then, the woman's voice, clear as day. You can break the machine, but you can't stop the air. I realized then that I wasn't the listener anymore. I was part of the broadcast. Now every night at 3:33 a.m., every electronic device in my house turns on. My TV, my phone, even my microwave display. They all show the same thing. A tall, faceless figure standing in a basement. And every night, it gets a little bit closer to the camera. I'm writing this as a warning. If you find an old radio at a garage sale, don't buy it. Some frequencies are meant to stay in the dark.